Hey, what's up, guys? It's Reed, aka Shuda here. I'm doing another 6 Max commentary. We got a pretty interesting spot. I wanted to start this video out by saying that all these spots that I've been doing on my YouTube channel have been pretty player dependent, and they've really all been from different players. So I think it's pretty cool if you talk with a bunch of different poker players who play at or above your limit, because you get a lot of different looks, and it's very valuable when you're trying to figure out different spots to exploit different types of players, and you get to figure out how your opponents are thinking. So it's really a win-win when you get to have conversations with different like-minded players. So in this hand, the cutoff opens, we're playing 2-5, 6 max, and we decide to make a little 3-bet here with the king 7 suited. I think it's fine every once in a while. The blinds are deep stacked, so that might affect their cold 4-betting frequencies just a little bit. Worried about being cold 5-bet by another deep stack. Not too remarkable. We're slightly deep with the cutoff as well, about 120 big blinds effective, just under. So our 3-bet size, I would say, is a little bit small, but again, not too remarkable. And the cutoff calls, I think he probably represents a decent amount of Broadway hands and some medium pocket pairs, as well as maybe some slow played big hands here. So he goes ahead and checks to us, which we'd expect. We continuation bet, I guess a bit on the larger side, but I think it's fine. And we get check raised to 97.50. So right off the bat, I mean, the worst case scenario we're looking at here is a pair over our 7. So a hand like pocket 10s through queens, I think most of the time, if something's going to be calling pre-flop and not really 4-betting. Kings and aces, obviously kings are pretty much a disaster for us, but there aren't too many combinations of that, only about 6 left, I think. And we can call to see a turn because there's a ton of turns that help us out. We can turn a heart and see the river every time, or we can turn 2-pair, or we can just kind of think that our pair is good enough of the time to see the turn in the river and hopefully pick off some bluffs. So I think all things considered, the flop's an easy call if we are continuation betting it. He checks to us on the turn, and it's a turn offsuit 6, which hits our range, I would say, probably harder than it hits his range, in that we're going to have a lot more 2-pair and straight combinations than he will have. Like, we're going to have the 10-8 suited and the 5-4 suited and be re-raising pre-flop with it a lot more often than he's going to be calling out of position with it, especially when we're only about like 120 big blinds deep. So we go ahead and bet again, and I think this is really the crux of this entire hand, and you guys are going to see why, because we get check raised here, and I think it's a pretty strange line, and my friend who sent me this hand just said like he straight up did not think this guy ever played a value hand this way. And I think there's definitely some weight behind that statement. It's kind of a strange line to take right off the bat, like a double check raise for value. That said, I'm not sure I would be betting the king 7 on the turn, because really about the only reason to bet it is to induce a check raise bluff. Like we said, there really aren't that many hands that are worse that can check call the turn that he check raises with on the flop. Maybe like 6-5 suited. How many combinations of that are there that he has, and that he would be playing that way pre-flop? Maybe 1 if we're talking about discounting it. So really the only reason to bet the king 7 on the turn is to induce a check raise and for protection. And if we're talking about protection, I think we can go ahead and just check back and call the same amount on the river. But I do like my friend's bet sizing here a lot. He bet about 73 into 263, and it's pretty sweet from like a game theory perspective, because it's going to be very difficult for him to check call a hand with just overcards, and we're giving him just about the right price to call, but not quite. So a hand like a gutter and 2 overs is going to be put in a really tough spot with poor reverse implied odds, and probably has to assume that we're going to play pretty well on about any river that could come out. So we go ahead and bet for protection. We get check raised. We decide to call. Then we get shoved on in the river. So I think this is really where the cutoff messed up the hand, because in on the, I guess the way the button's playing the hand, most of the time he's either going to have a straight here, two pair, or just have made up his mind that the cutoff is full of it, and we're going to be calling down anyway. We're also getting pretty fantastic odds here, over 3-1 it looks like. So it's pretty difficult for us to be folding really anything, even as poor as King 7 here. The cutoff doesn't really have many 4s or 8s in his range, but a lot of people I find try to just continue to represent something in hopes that we'll be folding a hand, maybe like pocket jacks here, even though it doesn't really make any sense for him to be value betting a hand like pocket aces even. That said, someone might realize that and find that pocket aces is a fantastic value bet here and that their line is pretty sweet, but we just didn't really think this guy was capable of it, and we thought that his range on the flop was just a lot of missed overcard type hands. So with all that in mind, we decided to call, and booyah, we stacked that foo, and he had the King 10 suited, so he had 2 overcards in the gutter on the turn. I think the most interesting part about this hand is the turn play. Let me know what you guys think about it, and if you do like these hand review videos, if you could like the video, follow me on Twitter, I would really appreciate it. Thanks guys, take care.